So I was willing to do it. And do you know how when you pop a top on something that's been compressed, you know what you get? It got down. I tried to drink Pepsi and it wouldn't help. It was just stuck down in deep. It stayed with me all day long. You truly must have to cook those things, right, Riley? But you see what happens when we start this stuff? It just stinks. It gets down deep inside of you. It affects your whole soul. You can't enjoy life because it's just eating at us. See, if we're digging up stuff 1 year ago, 5 years ago, just let it go, see? Now, remember we said, yeah, I love my brothers, but I don't. And I would never, now you be careful. Look at Matthew 5, 21, 22. Well, you want to read about a serious sin? Let's read about one. And you know what? We're not dealing with fornicating, adultery, or any of that stuff. Notice what we're dealing with. In verse 21 of chapter 5, you heard that it was said to those of ancient times, you must not murder. But whoever commits a murder will be accountable to the court of justice. However, I say to you that everyone who continues wrathful with his brother will be accountable to the court of justice. But whoever addresses his brother with an unspeakable word of contempt will be accountable to the Supreme Court. Whereas whoever says, you despicable fool, will be liable to the fiery Gehenna. Boy, that's serious stuff right there. Let's try to illustrate that. A number of years ago, first time we ever went in unassigned territory, we were heading to Shelby, North. No, it's not Shelby. Silva. See, y'all almost messed me up. Silva, North Carolina. You know where Silva's at up here in the mountains? Now picture this in your mind. We're coming out Interstate 40 doing about 65, 70 miles an hour, and there's 7 cars in this little caravan. We're bringing up the rear. And now my father-in-law is in front of us. When he travels, Bob takes everything he owns. He's got a car the size of a boat. It's got mirrors out to here. He's got a camper. It's got everything they've ever owned on the back. Just a matter of time till he did what? Cut somebody off, and he did. You ought to have seen the reaction. Shocked Lisa. This guy in this car that Bob had cut off, you see his head all of a sudden just jerk up, and he looks at whoever the woman is with him in that car, and he says something, and then you see him take that car, and it rockets it out to the left, and it just sits there and shakes for a minute, and then he just absolutely guns it. Then he pulls up alongside of Bob and then shoots it in at him. Can you imagine that? Scared us to death. Lisa went, oh! See? Bob didn't see it. Sometimes he has no idea where he's at in life. This guy wanted him to know it. That wasn't good enough. So now he pulls up like this, looks back at Bob, and he does this. My father-in-law goes, hi, how you doing? But that changed because this guy then took and shot that car in at Bob. It scared him to death. He hit the brakes immediately, and we did too, and it allowed this nut to shoot on up the highway. Now, you think about how serious that could have been. Now, think about what could have been said in that car, possibly. Can you imagine him? Yeah, he did that on purpose. No, honey, no, he's pulling that camper. He didn't see you. No, did it on purpose. Tried it in Memphis this morning. Honey, it's the first time we've seen this fella. No. Tried it 10 years ago in Texarkana, Arkansas. I know, he just had hairs in. Oh, honey, please, just let it go. Let it go. No, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up there and I'm going to ram that fella off the road. Can you imagine the rage like that? Now, if he would have hit Bob, what could have happened? What would, at the very least, how many others could have been involved? Now, friends, here we are driving down the narrow road to life. It's not a question of whether we'll bump each other. It's just a matter of when we're going to elbow each other. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes not. That's not the issue. The issue is how will we handle it? Now, we have to be careful. We go, I can't stand them. Wish they'd just quit serving God. See, now, if they quit serving God, what's going to happen to them? And for how long? What's going to happen to us then? See the seriousness of that? So be careful. Now let's talk about what we need to do so that that doesn't happen to us, so that we enjoy serving in the congregation. What's the first thing you should do when you've been offended? Right away. Go to that person? No, wait. That is the proper step. That's why you nodded, and I understand. But now the first thing we should do is 1 Peter 4:8. Let's turn over there. 1 Peter 4, verse 8. 4, verse 8. See, the thing we emphasize is Jehovah knows he's using a congregation of imperfect people and imperfect elders. Jehovah knows that. His son Jesus, as head of the congregation, he knows that as well. So now note in chapter 4, verse 8, what's asked of us. Now, it's interesting, the wording, because it says above all things. Now, if you place something above all things, where does it go? It'd be number one on your list, wouldn't it? What's the number one thing that Christians should be doing? Notice what it says. Have intense love for one another. See, that motivates us to get out in service. It'd motivate us to do what? To even love our brothers, some of those that we just don't like a whole lot. See, that intense love is an outstretched love. Now, there is a test of our faith. A brother one time said, it's like a rubber band you stretch out. Then we had a traveling brother that he one day dropped a 22-foot rubber band. I've always coveted that. Can you imagine? 22-foot rubber band? How many people could you get in that thing? Well, that's what it says. We should outstretchedly love others. Now, why? Because love covers what? A multitude of sins. It causes them to go away. If it covers, the clouds cover the sun, what now happens to the intense rays of the sun? They're lessened so that now we're able to cope. Does that mean the sun has gone away? No. Does that mean we don't remember what happened? No. It's just that we now no longer extract a cost. We now say, okay, I'm giving it up. I haven't forgot it, but I'm going to work on it, but I'm going to love you in the meantime with all of my heart. When that happens, we now become indebted to God. Could Jehovah ever owe us something? Yes, he could. Turn to Matthew 6, verse 12, please. You know where we're headed, don't you? Matthew 6, verse 12. Remember the Lord's Prayer? Now, sometimes we hear our brothers pray, forgive us our debts, and that's it. Now, we're not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's not entirely the full extent of the prayer, is it? Notice why. It says, and forgive us our debts as, see the contingency now? As we also have forgiven our debtors. Well, now that's serious. Now our very relationship with Jehovah is affected. Now, an old Watchtower said if we're deliberately avoiding and refusing to speak to just one single brother or sister as if they're not part of the congregation, that's a dangerous position. If Jehovah accepts that one as a part of his family, can you or I afford to treat him or her as if they're disfellowshipped as far as you're concerned? Your faith hardening or becoming nervous just at the sight of? Could we honestly afford Jehovah to treat us on that basis? To cut us off because? Now, if we don't want Jehovah treating us that way, let me ask you, how many times should we forgive our brothers? Remember, Peter said, 7 times, Lord. Thought he was on something. He missed it by 70, didn't he? 77 times. I knew there had to be a number. There you go. Now we got it. 76. One more time. 77. Now let's get in the yard. We're going to wrestle in that grass till one of us is bloody. This is going to get worked out. I hope you're ready. That isn't what he meant at all, was it? The Lord is saying, surely by the time you got to 77, you forgot about it. Can you imagine carrying around a list that big? Let's see where we're at with the sins. 64. Can't hardly remember. Yeah, they did. They said something to me now. Well, that's a list. So now, if we don't want Jehovah, see, let's say if we sinned against Jehovah 3 times a day, he treats us just like we're treating someone else now. We held him accountable at 77. Now, 3 times a day, and that's a very light number. Do you realize we'd be dead inside of a month? Now, if we don't want Jehovah God doing that to us, let's not be doing that to someone else. Now, what do we need to do? Well, let me share this little point with you. You stand and you talk to who? Look in a mirror. Who do you see? Talk to self. Did you mean to do it? Did they mean to do it?